What did it mean to you that John was high on the roster? John Harbaugh was high on the roster.
Yeah, I mean that's important. You know, you're going to come and coach these team, you know, the players. So what's your plan with what we have? And again, I had mentioned that to you guys before. I thought we would be able to fill the job based on what people from around the league think about it. And so yeah, we had some really good talks about the roster, and I'm excited to continue to work forward. You know, as we go into free agency, guys that we may or may not want to bring back, and start with those guys, and then the combine and the draft. So he's obviously been at a very successful organization and worked for one of the best general managers in the league with Ozzie Newsome, who I've got a lot of respect for, and Eric DeCosta. So I'm looking forward to working with him, and I'll probably learn some things from him.
Joe, as you go forward here with John, did you get a contract extension or?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into that. Again, I'm looking forward to working with John, and again, it's going to be a collaborative effort. Him and I already had great conversations, and again, just attack the coaching staff first. That's what we're going to do, and then free agency and the draft. So looking forward to that.
Joe, how important is it for you when you get that coaching staff in to meet with whoever the offensive coordinator is going to be, defensive coordinator is going to be, to figure out what players they need to then go out and find them?
Yeah, and that'll probably be part of the interview process. So that'll be done before they get in here. What does your scheme look like? What does your system look like? How do you plan on utilizing what we currently have, and then what do you need to be successful? So we'll have all those conversations. Like I said, we're going to start some of the interviews tomorrow.
Joe, do you have to learn what he wants? You know what I mean? They always say a GM and a head coach have to think football the same way. You had it with Brian. You have to learn what he wants in players, and have you had those discussions already?
Yeah, we've had some discussions already, and it's awesome. We're texting during the games this weekend, just talking football. He's not kidding. We talk football all the time. So we've already had those conversations, and we'll continue to have more throughout this week. He got here last night. Today's his first day in the office. So as time goes on, we'll continue to dig into that.
What have you learned about how he likes to build his roster out, I guess, and just more the recent updates that he's had?
A little bit like what he talked about, guys that love football, likes big players, like they were in AFC North. It's a physical division, tough players. So again, we're going to go through that process. We'll talk individually about where our players align within what he's looking for, and then look at what the pool looks like in the draft and the free agency.
What are the things? I understand it's collaborative, but somebody has to have final say, and it sounds like it's going to be him. From Chris Mara just saying his voice will carry the most weight. Was that humbling for you? Or what did that require for you to give up what you've had, which is the final say in the collaborative process?
Yeah, and I'm not worried about that. Everywhere I've been in the league for 26 years. So everywhere I've been, the head coach and general manager work together. That's the only way it's going to work. And get on the same page, go through the process. Again, we've done it everywhere I've been. So I'm not worried about it. Like you said, that's just something on a piece of paper. It doesn't matter. We need to work together, and we're going to come to the final conclusion. And it's always going to be about what's best for the New York Giants. So I have no problem with that. And I'm looking forward to working with him.
Joe, sorry if you were asked this. I walked over about a minute late, but what does it mean that of all the coaches that were available this cycle, and with Tomlin seeing like he's probably going to take the year off, John was probably the most established and decorated one, and he picked to work here with you guys?
Yeah, again, I know there were questions about would we be able to fill the job, but again, it's ownership and quarterback. I think a lot of these coaches, that's when you're getting ready to interview for your job, that's what they're looking for. And we have phenomenal ownership with the Mayer family, the Tisch family, and we've got a young quarterback. So I think that was attractive to a lot of the candidates. And we were able to get who I think is the best candidate that was available.
Do you plan to add anyone with ties to him from Baltimore to your department?
No. Not as of right now. We haven't had any discussions on that.
Do you expect how John Mara was during this process?
Yeah, he was awesome. And we hit the ground running now. The last time I talked to you guys on Monday after the season, we interviewed Kafka that night. Then we had Stefanski in, Raheem Morris, AP. We had a long first week. So John was great. He was involved, asked really good questions. It was awesome.
Joe, do you expect? Can you talk about Chris Mara and his role in this?
Yeah, same as the last time we went through this with Dave's. He was integral. Obviously, he had a couple meetings with John on his own, and he was awesome. Again, we had a very detailed process. We got a little bit ahead of the game because of when Dayball was let go. So the research and the coordination was done leading up to the end of the season, and then we had a really good process. And when Coach Harbaugh, we got him in the building, we didn't let him leave.
Do you expect Scatterboo and Neighbors to be ready for training camp? And what did you think about Scatterboo's wrestling situation?
Yeah, I was sitting on my couch at home, and I had no idea what was going on, and the agent called me. So yeah, I would rather him not do that. But that's, as you guys are around Scat, that's just who he is, and he'll be fine. He'll actually be prepared for the the off-season program on April 6th. He should be good. And then Malik is trending to, hopefully be ready for training camp.
The start of training camp, Joe?
Yeah.
I'm guessing you might have done
Things can change, but I've learned on that medical stuff. You guys hold me to that. But yeah, that's the hope. That's the hope.
I'm guessing you might have done some of those studies John said he hasn't had a chance to, but like the New England, Chicago, quarterback, head coach. What else did those teams have this year that propelled them from where they were last year?
That's a good question. I mean, we did it. We did it our first year. I mean, it's crazy the amount of times I've been a part of a new head coach where you go to the playoffs. Tony Sperano in Miami. We did it in Buffalo with Sean McDermott. We did it here with Brian Daboll. So sometimes just coming in, new energy, new leadership, new coaching staff. Sometimes, when the guys buy in and then you catch a little momentum early in the season, that can be contagious. And you look at New England and the Bears, you'd have to look it up. But I know they both had long winning streaks. So, you start to build momentum, you get confidence, and then the thing really starts getting rolling. And both teams had really good seasons.
John said he wants to win immediately. Obviously, you guys did win the first year. Hasn't been great since. What did you maybe learn from the process of building that team to build a sort of sustainable team that can contend not just 1 year but multiple years?
Yeah, and again, we've talked a lot about the quarterback today.
Sure.
And we got here. We after first season we had the coach of the year, and Daniel Jones had a good season with a playoff win. So that iteration, we did the deal with Daniel. It was a 2-year window, and I was good with the process. Was the outcome what we wanted? No, but once that happened, then it was, hey, let's put our head down and continue to build the roster. So if you get an opportunity to get a quarterback or a John Harbaugh, whoever it may be, that we can still, one, operate the offense, which Jackson was able to. Actually 3 quarterbacks this year. We went from 30th to 13th. We were still able to operate. And then, if a John Harbaugh comes available, that it's attractive enough job that he would want to come in and work here. And that's what we've done over the last couple of years. And I do think we have a good young nucleus here where we'll be competitive next year.
Joe, we've seen.
You mentioned that Jackson wasn't going to be a part of this process in terms of asking his input, but obviously he was pretty excited about this process. So what can you gauge from just how he feels about that relationship with him and Harbaugh?
Yeah, Jackson's very positive, so everybody he talked to, he loved. So, which I appreciate that about Jackson. But he, when he was in town, obviously Ole Miss had a game, so we missed one. So he wasn't here for every interview. But if he was in town, I said, hey, you want to come by and meet the coach? And he had a conversation on the phone with Coach Harbaugh that I didn't initially. We didn't set it up; they did it on their own, which was pretty cool. And then they spent some time together on the interview. So 2 guys that love ball. We had to pull them out of the room because we had to speed things along. So they probably could have been there all day together. So it was a good connection right off the bat, and I'm looking forward to those 2 working.
Joe, 2 of the guys that you saw last week, Joe, when you said you and John were texting, watching some of the games. One of the teams that you were watching was a pretty bad team the year before, got their coach, turned it around. One of the teams that's still going to be playing, the Patriots, got their coach, immediately turned it around. Is the possibility for that now that you have John, he's here, is that possible here in New York as well?
Yeah, we've got a lot of work to do. I don't want to make any predictions, but I mean, those scenarios are great. Like I was saying, I've been fortunate enough, first-time head coaches to make the playoffs a few times. So it can certainly happen. And again, I like the young core. I like John's leadership and culture building ability. So I'm looking forward to our young players and the existing players be exposed to that.
We see the cafeterias under construction. What kind of changes beyond just to getting a new coach? What infrastructure changes are you anticipating now?
Yeah, and there's a jackhammer under my office every day. Only till 3:00 though, then it goes silent. But there's some other the locker room and the training room. So there's going to be some. They're going to do an announcement here at some point, but there's going to be some structural changes and upgrades throughout the entire facility.
Was there an urgency to get this done before any other teams could open up their jobs? As you saw, obviously one of your best friends has an opening now that he could have stole your coach from you. Was there an urgency to get it done, knowing that could happen?
Yeah, it wasn't anticipating that. He was in our building. It was in our building, and we got John Mara. And he's been in this league a long time and has a ton of respect to everybody around the league. So the opportunity to get him in the building, go through our process, get to know me, and then to be able to get in front of John Mara and not let him out and come to an agreement was good execution on our part. And I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we did it the way we did it.
When did you know that it was gonna go down?
Called the handshake. The handshake was 4:30 on Wednesday.
Before dinner, after dinner?
Yeah, so it didn't. I mean, I remember I woke up and the middle. It was before dinner. It was before we left the building. So I think at 11:30 at night it got out, or later in the night. So I think it was when they told Tennessee that they weren't going to interview with them. So I think that's when it eventually got out. But then we worked out the business details.
If Todd Monken winds up being your offensive coordinator, what do you like about his ability to maximize Jackson?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, and I haven't done enough. John and I are going to talk about that later today and start going over the list. This is his first day being in the office, so we've had some phone conversations, but to really dive in, and we've got to interview candidates too. So there's a lot of good offensive minds out there, and we're going to talk to several candidates specifically on that side of the ball, because that's very important.
Joe, some of the players I've always talked about, they believe in the players, the coaches that you bring in, but this feels different, that you don't have to be convinced. Do you feel that even up and down the organization, that when John speaks, everybody kind of listens a little bit more?
Yeah, and he has the skins on the wall. He's won a lot of games in this league, AFC North titles, Super Bowl. So, he's definitely got the credibility. And you hear him talk. The leadership, the plan that he has, very detailed, organized. So, again, it brings instant credibility to the organization at the head coaching position.